Hello everyone, here is the full summarization of the Harry Potter and the Chambers of Secret. Last year, he was a hero. He defeated a Dark Lord, won the House Cup, and found a home. But today, Harry Potter is back in the one place magic goes to die, number 4, Privet Drive. Imagine being a wizard who has flown on broomsticks and fought trolls, but now you're locked in a room where even saying the word magic is a crime. Uncle Vernon has bolted Harry's trunk, his wand, and his flying broom under the stairs. Harry isn't just a student on summer break, he's a prisoner of the ordinary. Harry spent his days trying to stay invisible. But the physical hunger wasn't what hurt the most, it was the silence. Not a single owl had arrived from his friends. As he stared at his snowy owl, Hedwig, who sat rattling her cage in a hunger strike of frustration, Harry began to wonder, was Hogwarts just a beautiful dream? Today was July 31st, Harry's 12th birthday. But at the Dursley house, birthdays didn't exist for people like Harry. Uncle Vernon was obsessed with the dinner of the century, a deal with a rich builder named Mr. Mason. Uncle Vernon's entire career depended on this night. He ran the family through a drill of their own, a psychological rehearsal of fake politeness. Vernon, I'll be in the lounge, waiting to welcome them. Petunia, I'll be saying, may I take your coats, Mr. and Mrs. Mason. Dudley, I'll be saying, may I take you through to the dining room, Mrs. Mason. Then Vernon turned to Harry, his eyes narrowing. He reminded Harry of his place. And Harry was given a ritual that felt like an execution of his identity. I'll be in my bedroom, making no noise and pretending I'm not there. Harry escaped to the garden to avoid the dinner prep. While singing, Happy Birthday, quietly to himself, he felt he was being watched. From the depths of the hedge, two enormous, tennis ball-sized green eyes stared back at him. Harry froze. He felt a sudden coldness despite the July heat. But before he could investigate, Dudley appeared. Dudley taunted Harry about his birthday, asking why he hadn't received any cards. Harry, pushed to his limit, began to mumble nonsense, jiggery-pokery. Hocus pocus. Squiggly wiggly. Dudley scrambled away, terrified of a curse that didn't exist. Harry's only joy was the fear he could still strike into Dudley, even if he wasn't allowed to use real magic. But the laughter died quickly. He knew that if he didn't get back to Hogwarts soon, he might truly lose his mind in this house of grey walls and forced silence. The sun has set. The Masons had arrived. Harry slipped into his room, ready to endure another night of isolation. He is weeping loudly into the corner of his filthy pillowcase. Harry is panicked, looking at the floorboards, terrified the Dursleys will hear the noise from downstairs. But sitting on his duvet was a creature he had never seen before. A small being with ears like dinner plates and eyes that glowed with a strange, frantic light. Harry stood frozen. The creature on his bed had eyes the size of tennis balls, brimming with tears. This was Dobby the house elf. In the book, Dobby doesn't just start talking, he bows so low his long, thin nose touches the carpet. Dobby's hands are wrapped in dirty bandages, showing he has already punished himself earlier that day for coming to see Harry. Harry, ever the polite host, asks Dobby to sit down. This simple act of kindness causes Dobby to burst into loud, hysterical sobs. No wizard has ever asked a house elf to sit like an equal. Harry is terrified the Dursleys will hear the noise from the dinner party downstairs. Dobby begins to beat his head against Harry's window, shouting, "Bad Dobby! Bad Dobby!" Harry lunges forward to stop him, his face etched with panic. We learn the dark truth about the wizarding world: house elves are slaves. Dobby explains that he serves a family of dark wizards and cannot leave unless he is given clothes. He has to punish himself for even visiting Harry. Dobby whispers about the dark days before Harry defeated Voldemort. To Dobby, Harry is a beacon of hope for all magical creatures. But Dobby's admiration comes with a price. He delivers the chilling warning: Harry Potter must not go back to Hogwarts. There is a plot to make most terrible things happen. Dobby reveals that the chamber is mentioned in whispers, though he cannot say the name of his masters. Dobby pulls a thick stack of envelopes from inside his pillowcase. They are tied with a messy piece of string. Harry recognizes Ron's messy scrawl and Hermione's neat cursive. This is the moment Harry's heartbreak turns to rage. Dobby confesses that he has been stealing Harry's mail all summer. He thought that if Harry felt his friends didn't care, he wouldn't want to go back to school. Harry reaching for the letters, but Dobby dancing out of reach. Harry realizes his lonely summer was a calculated trap by a creature trying to save him. Harry refuses to stay home. Hogwarts isn't just a school, it's his life. Dobby, realizing his plan has failed, takes a desperate, final step. He bolts out of the room and down the stairs. Aunt Petunia's masterpiece, a massive pudding of whipped cream and sugared violets, is hovering in midair in the kitchen. The Dursleys and the Masons are in the next room, unaware. Harry finds Dobby in the kitchen. The pudding isn't just sitting there, it's floating near the ceiling. In the book, Dobby gives Harry one last chance, give Dobby your word. Harry refuses again. The pudding crashes. A massive explosion of cream and sugar covers Mrs. Mason and the pristine floor. Dobby vanishes with a loud crack like a gunshot. Uncle Vernon tries to lie his way out of it, blaming Harry's mental state. He almost succeeds, until the final blow arrives from the sky. A barn owl swoops through the window, dropping a heavy parchment onto Mrs. Mason's head. She screams and runs out of the house. Uncle Vernon opens the letter, his face turning a deep, angry purple. The letter is from Mafalda Hopkirk at the Ministry of Magic. Because Dobby used a hover charm, the trace detected magic in a Muggle house. Harry is officially warned that he will be expelled if it happens again. Uncle Vernon's eyes light up with cruel joy as he realizes Harry is forbidden from using magic to defend himself. Vernon Dursley, laughing like a villain, as he hires men to bolt iron bars onto Harry's window and installs a cat flap in the door. Harry is a prisoner in the dark, with nothing but cold canned soup and the fear that he will never see. Hogwarts again. At night Harry's face, pale and sweaty in the moonlight. He's dreaming of being in a zoo cage with a sign that says, "Underage Wizard." Suddenly, a low-frequency hum vibrates the room. Two glowing yellow circles descend from the clouds. A turquoise Ford Anglia lands in midair outside the window. Harry's rescue wasn't coming from the Ministry, it was coming from a 3.5-ton car flying through the night sky. Ron Weasley was hanging out of the driver's window, his red hair glowing like a beacon. In the book, we see the Weasley twins' hidden talents. While Ron holds the car steady, Fred and George demonstrate a skill they didn't learn in Charms class, Muggle lockpicking. Fred using a simple hairpin to click the lock on Harry's bedroom door. The escape is a precision heist. They hook a rope to the bars, and the car's engine roars. With a sickening screech of metal and stone, the bars are ripped from the brickwork. As Harry scrambles into the back seat, Uncle Vernon's purple face appears in the doorway, his hand reaching out to drag Harry back into the darkness. But the car surges, leaving Privet Drive behind forever. Ford Anglia soaring over the clouds, a perfect silhouette against the full moon. Inside the car, it is strangely spacious, a hint of the undetectable extension charm. As they fly toward Devon, the book gives us essential lore that explains why Harry felt so trapped. Ron explains the trace. The Ministry can detect magic done around minors, but they can't tell who did it. This is how Dobby successfully framed Harry. Ron sharing a slightly squashed sandwich with Harry. The casual kindness is a sharp contrast to the Dursleys' forced starvation. The twins explain their skills. Fred admits he learned how to pick locks from a Muggle hairpin, proving that the twins respect cleverness over raw power. As they fly, Harry realizes that these aren't just jokesters, they are highly skilled and resourceful wizards. The sun begins to bleed gold over the misty fields of Devon. A crooked silhouette emerges from a cluster of gnarled apple trees. It looks like a stone pigpen that has had extra rooms added on top, rising several stories high like a stack of mismatched boxes. Harry had never seen anything like it. To a boy who grew up in the perfectly normal Privet Drive, the burrow was a beautiful, gravity-defying mess. It wasn't just a house, it was an extension of the Weasley family. Harry saw a magic clock in the kitchen. It has no numbers, only things like, time to make tea, you're late, and, mortal danger. There is a stack of self-shuffling cards and, Gilderoy Lockhart, books on the side table. Inside, the house breathed. The air smelled of baking bread and old parchment. The sink was full of sudsy dishes washing themselves, knitting needles clinked together to create a sweater, and in the hallway, a mirror shouted, "Tuck your shirt in, Scruffy," as Harry walked by. For the first time, Harry realizes that magic isn't just for fighting trolls, it's for making a home feel like a hug. The boys sneak into the kitchen, hoping for a quiet breakfast. Suddenly, the door flies open. Mrs. Weasley stands there, her short, plump figure vibrating with fury. Her face is as red as Ron's hair, and she is brandishing a wooden spoon like a sword. Molly Weasley's fury is a thing of legend because it's rooted in love. She doesn't just yell about the car, she lists every single way they could have died. Beds empty. No note. Car gone. You could have been seen. You could have died. Mrs. Weasley piling 8 sausages, 3 fried eggs, and a mountain of toast onto Harry's plate. Her hands are floury, and her smile is warm even while she screams at her sons. Even while she's screaming, she is feeding Harry. She sees his broken glasses and his thin frame and immediately starts frying eggs. This is a key character beat. Mrs. Weasley becomes the mother Harry never had, fighting his battles with food and protection. The Weasley garden is a riot of tall grass and gnarled apple trees. Suddenly, a small, leathery creature with a bald, potato-like head and sharp teeth pops out of a hole and bites Ron's finger. This is a book-only favorite that the movies mostly skipped. To pay for their crimes, the boys are sent to Gnome the garden. These aren't ceramic statues, they are pests with bad attitudes. Harry watching Ron swing a gnome around his head to get it dizzy before tossing it over the hedge. Focus on the gnome's dizzy face with stars over its eyes. Harry learns the rhythm: catch, spin, toss. As he hurls a swearing gnome over the hedge, he finds himself laughing. He's dirty, he's tired, and his arms ache, but for the first time in his life, he feels like he is exactly where he belongs. He isn't the boy who lived here, he's just a boy helping his friends with the chores. The Weasley kitchen. A large stone fireplace filled with emerald green flames. Mr. Weasley is holding a flower pot full of glittering powder. Harry looks nervous, his soot-stained face illuminated by the magical fire. This is Harry's first journey by Floo. Powder was a disaster waiting to happen. In the book, the burrow is filled with the frantic energy of a family trying to get out the door. We see the struggle of the Weasleys, 7 children and 2 parents, trying to coordinate a trip to London. As Harry steps into the flames, he gulps, inhales a mouthful of hot ash, and accidentally coughs out, Diagon Alley, instead of saying it clearly. The world becomes a spinning whirlpool of fireplaces and soot. Harry is dizzy, his glasses slipping, as he is spat out into a dark, cold, and dusty grate. He isn't in Diagon Alley anymore. He has landed in the heart of darkness, Nocturne Alley. A dim, creepy shop filled with shrunken heads, rusty daggers, and a withered hand on a cushion, the Hand of Glory. Harry hides inside a large black cabinet just as the bell rings. This is a critical lore scene. Harry watches from the shadows of a vanishing cabinet, as Lucius and Draco Malfoy enter the shop. In the book, we see the true dynamic of the Malfoy family. Lucius is cold and demanding, scolding Draco for his poor grades and for being outshone by Muggle-born Hermione Granger. Lucius Malfoy's silver-headed snake cane tapping against the counter. He is here to sell sensitive, illegal, dark artifacts because the Ministry is conducting raids. He sells a list of poisons to the greasy shopkeeper, Mr. Borgin. Harry witnesses Lucius's disdain for Mr. Weasley, mocking the new Muggle Protection Act. This scene establishes Lucius as a dangerous, high-society predator, a far cry from the bumbling Dursleys. After they left, Harry stumbling out into the damp, grimy street of Nocturne Alley. Sinister wizards in tattered robes approach him. Suddenly, a massive shadow looms over them, Hagrid, looking fierce and carrying a bucket of flesh-eating slug repellent. Hagrid's arrival is a literal lifesaver. He brushes off the dark wizards like flies and drags a soot-covered Harry back to the sunlight of Diagon Alley. Here, the tone shifts. Harry is reunited with the Weasleys, who are frantic with worry. Hermione's parents, the Muggles, standing awkwardly at Gringotts. Mr. Weasley is obsessed with them, asking, "And you use stamps?" Fascinating. The wizarding world is as dangerous as it is beautiful. They were at the Flourish and Blots bookstore. A massive banner hangs with the face of a man with wavy blonde hair and blindingly white teeth, Gilderoy Lockhart. A huge crowd of witches is pushing to get an autograph. Enter the ultimate fraud. Gilderoy Lockhart is holding a book signing for his autobiography, Magical Me. When he spots Harry Potter, he grabs him for a front-page photo for the Daily Prophet. Lockhart whispering to Harry about fame and publicity, assuming Harry is as obsessed with attention as he is. He announces he will be the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, and the crowd goes wild. Harry is humiliated. He wants to be invisible, but Lockhart uses him as a prop. This sets up the main conflict of Harry's second year, the struggle between genuine bravery and manufactured fame. Lucius Malfoy and Mr. Weasley face to face. Lucius reaches into Ginny Weasley's cauldron and pulls out a battered, second-hand copy of A Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration. Lucius insults the Weasleys' poverty and their association with Muggles. Mr. Weasley snaps. He lunges at Lucius, knocking over a giant stack of books. Hagrid has to pull them apart. In the chaos, Lucius shoves Ginny's book back into her cauldron. The book notes a faint smirk on his face. This is the most important moment of the chapter. Lucius has just slipped Tom Riddle's diary into Ginny's things. The Malfoys leave in a swirl of black robes, leaving the Weasleys shaken but proud. Harry heads back to the burrow, unaware that the darkest object he saw all day is now sitting in Ginny's school bag. The morning of September 1st was a masterclass in Weasley chaos. The interior of the Weasleys' Ford Anglia. It's packed impossibly tight with 9 people and their luggage. Outside, the rain is lashing against the windows. Mr. Weasley is checking his watch frantically. They are running dangerously late. In the book, the journey to King's Cross is a series of frantic U-turns. They have to go back for George's box of filibuster fireworks, then again for Ginny's diary. By the time they reach the station, they have only minutes to spare. The second hand of the clock at King's Cross is ticking toward 11 a.m. One by one, the Weasleys vanish through the solid barrier of platform 9 3/4. Harry and Ron are the last ones left. Harry and Ron charge at the barrier with their heavy trolleys. But instead of slipping through to the Scarlet steam engine, there is a sickening crunch. They crash into solid masonry. The barrier is sealed. The train is gone. They are trapped in the Muggle world, and the silence of the station feels like a death sentence. Harry and Ron standing in the middle of the station, surrounded by confused Muggles. Ron is looking at the sky, then at the Ford Anglia parked outside. His eyes are wide with a reckless, terrifying idea. In the book, the panic is palpable. Harry suggests waiting for Mr. and Mrs. Weasley, but Ron, terrified of being left behind, reminds Harry that they have a flying car. This isn't just a fun adventure, it's an act of desperation. Harry and Ron sat in the car. Ron pulling the invisibility booster switch on the dashboard. The car fades out of sight as it lifts off over the London rooftops. But there's a flicker, the magic is failing. As they soar over the clouds, the engine begins to whine. The invisibility booster starts to fail, flickering like a dying light bulb. They are flying a turquoise car over the English countryside, and for the first time, Harry realizes that if they are seen, it's not just attention, it's the end of their lives in the wizarding world. The car flying alongside the Hogwarts Express. Below, the train looks like a tiny scarlet caterpillar winding through the mountains. Inside the car, the heat has failed. Harry and Ron are shivering, their breath misting in the air. The flight takes hours. In the book, the boys become exhausted and dehydrated. The excitement wears off, replaced by the realization of what they've done. They follow the train tracks, lost in a sea of clouds. The car is trembling. Suddenly, the Hogwarts castle appears in the distance, a crown of golden lights against the dark mountains. But the engine gives one final, pathetic cough and dies. The car begins to plummet. The wind screams past the windows as they lose altitude, heading straight for the dark, castle walls. But they aren't going to hit the stone. They are heading straight for a massive, ancient tree. The Ford Anglia crashing into the thick, gnarled branches of a giant willow tree. For a second, there is silence. Then, a branch the size of a battering ram slams into the roof, caving it in. This isn't a normal tree. This is the Whomping Willow. In the book, the violence is visceral. The tree is alive, lashing out at the invaders with terrifying strength. Ron's wand snapping in half as a branch smashed through the windshield. We see the wood splintering, held together by only a few threads of phoenix feather. Harry is being thrown around like a rag doll. The car, seemingly developing a mind of its own, suddenly ejects the boys and their trunks onto the grass. It's fed up. It's battered, scratched, and steaming. The car ignores Ron's pleas and drives itself off into the forbidden forest, disappearing into the shadows like a wounded animal. Harry and Ron standing in the Great Hall corridor, peering through the windows at the feast. Suddenly, a cold, silk-smooth voice speaks from behind them. The feast is over here, I believe. Professor Snape is at his most menacing here. He leads them to his dungeon office, holding a copy of the Evening Prophet. The headline, Flying Ford Anglia mystifies Muggles. Snape's office, shadowy jars of pickled creatures and cold stone walls. He is enjoying this. He lists their crimes, practically tasting the word expelled. Then, Dumbledore and McGonagall enter. The tension is unbearable. McGonagall's disappointment hurts Harry more than Snape's hatred. They aren't expelled, but the punishment is severe, detention and a howler in their future. Harry and Ron entering the Gryffindor common room to a hero's welcome, but Harry can't shake the feeling that something much darker than a flying car is waiting for them this year. The Great Hall at breakfast. A ragged, grey owl, Errol, is spiraling out of control, eventually faceplanting into Hermione's jug of milk. He is clutching a smoking, blood-red envelope. The background chatter of 500 students dies instantly. For Ron Weasley, the nightmare didn't end with the car, it began with an owl. In the book, the howler is a physical presence. It's smoking at the corners, smelling faintly of gunpowder. Neville Longbottom warns Ron to open it quickly, recalling his own experience. It's horrible if you don't. The letter leaps out of Ron's hand, curling into a giant, paper mouth. The voice of Mrs. Weasley roars through the hall, 100 times louder than usual. The plates on the table actually rattle from the sound. Stealing the car, I wouldn't have been surprised if they'd expelled you. The humiliation is total. Every eye in the school is on the Gryffindor table. When the letter finally finishes by telling Ginny how proud they are of her, it burns itself into a pile of grey ash. This scene establishes that while the wizarding world is magical, it still has a parent's fury. At Greenhouse 3. Professor Sprout, covered in patches and dirt, stands before a row of wooden trays. Harry, Ron, and Hermione are struggling to put on large, pink, fluffy earmuffs. The air is thick with the scent of damp soil and ancient fertilizer. This isn't just a gardening lesson. Professor Sprout is preparing the cure for the dark year ahead. She introduces the mandrakes. In the book, they are described as small, muddy, extremely ugly babies with leaves growing out of their heads. Mandrake being pulled from the soil. It isn't crying, it's screaming. Its skin is a mottled green-brown, and its tiny hands are flailing. Even with earmuffs, the students feel a vibrating pressure in their chests. Harry is partnered with Justin Finch-Fletchley, a Hufflepuff who mentions he was nearly sent to Eton. This is a vital setup for the pureblood versus Muggle-born tension that will soon explode. The lesson is exhausting, leaving the students covered in sweat and dragon dung compost. The defense against the dark arts classroom. Every available inch of wall space is covered in portraits of Gilderoy Lockhart, himself winking, himself brushing his hair, himself fighting a werewolf. The real Lockhart enters, wearing forget-me-not blue robes. Lockhart's first class is a masterpiece of narcissism. He doesn't start with a wand, he starts with a 3-page test. But as Harry looks at the paper, his heart sinks. The questions aren't about magic. Question 1, what is Gilderoy Lockhart's favorite color? Question 27, what is Gilderoy Lockhart's greatest achievement to date? Hermione has filled every line, even knowing that his favorite color is lilac. This shows Hermione's one weakness, her respect for authority, even when that authority is a fraud. Lockhart is a man obsessed with his own legend, treating Harry not as a student, but as a fellow celebrity. Lockhart pulls a cover off a large cage. Inside are freshly caught Cornish pixies, electric blue, tiny, and vibrating with destructive energy. Lockhart gives a wink and opens the cage door. This is the moment the legend of Lockhart falls apart. In the book, the pixies are like a blue hurricane. They don't just fly, they shred everything. They grab Neville by the ears and hoist him onto a chandelier. They tear textbooks into confetti. They spray ink across the portraits. Lockhart attempts a spell, Pescapixie Pasternomy. He waves his wand with a flourish, and nothing happens. A pixie snatches his wand and tosses it out the window. Lockhart flees to his office, leaving 12-year-olds to fight the monsters he couldn't. Hermione saves the day with an immobilist charm, but the truth is out, their teacher is a coward. The mood shifts. The bright colors of the classroom fade to the cold, gray stones of the corridor. Harry is walking alone, the sound of his footsteps echoing. He is walking back from a detention with Lockhart when he hears it. A voice that seems to come from the very stones of the castle. It is cold, sibilant, and hungry. Harry pressing his ear against the cold wall. The sound of water rushing through pipes is heard, and then the whisper, "Come, come to me, let me rip you, let me tear you. I smell blood." Harry is terrified. He runs to find Ron and Hermione, but when he explains what he heard, they look at him with confusion. Even in the wizarding world, hearing voices isn't a good sign. The Gryffindor Quidditch team, dressed in scarlet robes, marches onto the pitch at dawn. The grass is dewy and the air is misty. Suddenly, 7 figures in bright emerald green robes block their path. It's the Slytherin team, led by Marcus Flint and a smirking Draco Malfoy. The rivalry between Gryffindor and Slytherin turns nasty. Wood is furious, he had the pitch booked, but Flint produces a note from Snape. Slytherin has a new seeker, Draco Malfoy. In the book, the tension isn't just about the pitch, it's about the Nimbus 2001s. Lucius Malfoy has bought his son's way onto the team. The Slytherins are mocking the ancient brooms of the Gryffindors. When Hermione points out that the Gryffindor team made it on talent, not bribes, Malfoy snaps. He uses a word that freezes the air, mudblood. The reaction is instant. The Gryffindors have to be held back, and the audience sees for the first time that the wizarding world has a dark, racist underbelly. Ron, face turning red with rage, pulls out his broken wand, still held together by spellotape. He points it at Malfoy's chest and shouts, "Eat slugs." Ron defends Hermione's honor, but his broken wand has other plans. Instead of a green light hitting Malfoy, there is a deafening bang and a blast of violet light that hits Ron in the stomach. Ron falls to the grass. His face turns pale, then green. Suddenly, he belches, and a massive, slimy, brown slug falls out of his mouth into the grass. The Slytherins are howling with laughter. Harry and Hermione have to drag a retching Ron across the grounds to Hagrid's hut. This is a book-only struggle. Every few steps, Ron has to stop as more giant, wet slugs slide out of his mouth. Inside Hagrid's cozy, oversized hut. Ron is sitting with a large copper bucket between his knees, sounding a rhythmic tink-tink as slugs hit the metal. Hagrid is brewing tea in a pot the size of a bucket. Hermione explains what mudblood means, a foul name for someone born to non-magical parents. She is crying, but Hagrid stops her. Hagrid's massive hand resting on Hermione's shoulder. He tells her that she is the best witch in her year, regardless of her parents. He reminds them that some of the greatest wizards are Muggle-borns, and that pureblood is just a label used by people like Malfoy to feel superior. We also see Hagrid's suspicious side. He mentions he's been seeing things in the Forbidden Forest and asks Harry about Gilderoy Lockhart, calling him a feather-headed fool. Harry and Ron serving their detentions. Ron is in the trophy room with Filch, hand-polishing silver cups without magic. Harry is back in Lockhart's office, helping him address fan mail. The punishment is a mental grind. Ron is suffering. Every time he tries to polish a trophy, he belches a slug onto the silver, and Filch screams at him. But Harry's detention is far more unsettling. Lockhart's office is illuminated by flickering candles. He is lecturing Harry on how to handle fame and fans. Harry is numb with boredom, mindlessly licking envelopes, until the room goes cold. The candles in Lockhart's office flicker and dim. Harry freezes. The voice is back. It's louder this time, coming from the very marrow of the castle walls. The sibilant hiss returns, "I smell blood, let me rip you, let me kill you." Harry jumps up, knocking over his ink bottle. Lockhart looks at him like he's crazy. He hears nothing but the scratching of his own quill. Harry runs out of the office, his heart hammering. He finds Ron in the hallway, still smelling of slugs and polish. When Harry tells him the voice is back, Ron's reaction is different this time. He looks genuinely scared. Hearing voices no one else can hear isn't a good sign, even in the wizarding world, Ron whispers. The mystery is moving closer, and it's no longer just a warning, it's a hunt. October has arrived. The sky over Hogwarts is a heavy, bruised purple, and the rain is lashing against the windows. Harry is walking back from Quidditch practice, dripping wet and covered in mud. He encounters Filch, the caretaker, who is in a particularly foul mood. The weather in the book reflects the growing darkness. Harry accidentally tracks Mud into the Great Hall, and Filch hauls him to his office. This is a crucial, book-only moment. Harry discovers a letter on Filch's desk for a Quickspell correspondence course. It's a course for beginner's magic. Harry realizes the truth. Filch is a squib, someone born into a wizarding family but with no magical power. This explains his bitter hatred for the students. Before Filch can punish him, nearly headless Nick distracts the caretaker by convincing Peeves the poltergeist to drop a heavy vanishing cabinet right above Filch's head. Harry is free, but Nick has a favor to ask. He wants Harry to attend his 500th Death Day party on Halloween night. While the rest of the school is headed to the warm, candlelit Great Hall for the feast, Harry, Ron, and Hermione are descending into the dungeons. The air gets colder with every step, and the light of the torches turns a ghostly, flickering blue. The Death Day party is a sensory nightmare. In the book, the dungeon is filled with hundreds of pearly white, translucent ghosts from all over the country. The music is like 1,000 fingernails scratching on a chalkboard, high-pitched and dissonant. The food table. To ghosts, fresh food is tasteless. They serve rotting, moldy delicacies, a large gray fish, cakes burned to charcoal, and maggoty haggis. The smell is so foul that Hermione has to hold her breath. Harry meets the Headless Hunt, a group of ghosts who literally play head hockey with their own detached heads. Nick is humiliated because he can't join. His head is still attached by a thin flap of skin. This scene builds the world building of what it means to be a ghost. They are frozen in time, trapped by their own regrets. Harry, Ron, and Hermione are leaving the freezing party, their stomachs growling for actual food. They are climbing the stairs back to the main hall when Harry stops dead. His eyes go wide, and he presses his palms against the cold stone wall. The voice is back. But this time, it's not just whispering, it's hunting. Kill, time to kill. I smell blood. Harry begins to run. He doesn't know where he's going, he's just following the sound of the sibilant hiss moving through the pipes inside the walls. Ron and Hermione are racing behind him, confused and terrified because they hear nothing but the wind. Harry reaches the second floor. He stops at the entrance of a corridor. The torches have been extinguished. The floor is flooded with water, reflecting the moonlight like a mirror. Something is hanging from a torch bracket. It's stiff, motionless, and shadowed. As the kids get closer, they see it's Mrs. Norris, Filch's cat. Her eyes are open and glassy. The horror peaks here. In the book, the atmosphere is dead silent. Next to the cat, painted on the wall in large, jagged letters, is a message that seems to glow in the dark: the Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the air, beware. They aren't painted in ink. They are painted in blood. The water on the floor is ripples as the feast ends and hundreds of students spill into the corridor. The chatter stops instantly as the school sees the message. Draco Malfoy pushes to the front of the crowd. He sees the message and a cold, cruel smirk spreads across his face. He looks directly at Hermione. Malfoy breaks the silence with a chilling shout: enemies of the air, beware. You'll be next, mudbloods. Suddenly, Filch bursts through the crowd. He sees his cat and screams, pointing a shaking finger at Harry. He thinks Harry has murdered his only friend as revenge for the Quickspell incident. Dumbledore arrives. He is calm but grave. He unhooks the cat and tells Filch she isn't dead, she has been petrified. He looks at the wall, then at Harry. The mystery has officially begun, and for the first time, Harry is the prime suspect. At Lockhart's office, lit by flickering candlelight, Dumbledore is bent over Mrs. Norris, who is frozen stiff, her eyes wide and glassy. Snape and McGonagall are watching closely. Filch is sobbing into a chair, and Harry, Ron, and Hermione are standing awkwardly against the wall. The atmosphere is thick with suspicion. In the book, the investigation is quiet and intense. Dumbledore uses his wand to prod the cat, looking for signs of life. Filch is hysterical, convinced Harry killed his cat because Harry knows he is a squib. Dumbledore's face looks grave, his blue eyes lacking their usual twinkle. He confirms the cat is petrified but doesn't know how. Snape seizes the moment to suggest Harry is lying about why he was in that corridor, his black eyes fixed on Harry like a hawk. Lockhart, predictably, tries to take over, claiming he could have cured the cat with a transmogrification. Torture he once dealt with in Transylvania. The tension only breaks when Dumbledore allows the children to leave, though the shadow of doubt remains. A crowded history of magic classroom. The air is dusty and the students are yawning. Professor Binns, a gray, translucent ghost, is floating just above his chair, lecturing in a monotone voice. This is one of the most famous scenes in the book. Usually, Binns is ignored, but today, Hermione's hand shoots up. She asks about the Chamber of Secrets. In the book, Binns is annoyed at the interruption but eventually gives in. He tells about the four founders, Godric Gryffindor, Helga Hufflepuff, Rowena Ravenclaw, and Salazar Slytherin. They built the castle together, but Slytherin wanted to be more selective, believing magic should be kept within pureblood families. Binns explains that Slytherin left the school after a fight with Gryffindor, but legend says he built a hidden chamber. He sealed it so that only his true heir could open it and purge the school of those he deemed unworthy. The classroom is dead silent, even Binns is unnerved by the students' intense focus. Harry, Ron, and Hermione walking through the flooded corridor where the attack happened. The words on the wall are still there, dark and jagged. Suddenly, Harry notices something strange near the window. The trio starts playing detective. In the book, they notice a trail of spiders, dozens of them, scrambling to get out through a crack in the glass. This is a vital, book-only clue. Spiders are terrified of what is inside the chamber. They enter Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. It is a gloomy, damp place with cracked mirrors and leaking stalls. Myrtle, a moping ghost, emerges from a toilet, wailing about her miserable existence. She doesn't have answers, but she confirms that the bathroom is almost always empty because of her crying. Harry and Ron are convinced Malfoy is the heir. He's arrogant, he hates Muggleborns, and his family has been in Slytherin for generations. But they need proof. In the library, Hermione is hunched over a heavy, dusty book titled Most Potenti Potions. She is whispering to Harry and Ron about a way to sneak into the Slytherin common room. Hermione proposes the Polyjuice Potion. In the book, the danger is emphasized. It's a restricted potion that takes a month to brew and involves ingredients like powdered bicorn horn and shredded skin of a boomslang. The potion looks like bubbling, thick mud. Hermione explains they will have to trick Lockhart into giving them a signed note to get the book from the restricted section. They realize the risk is enormous. If they are caught, they'll be expelled. But with the enemies of the heir message looming over the school, they feel they have no choice but to break the rules to save their friends. Lockhart's office. He is surrounded by his own portraits, all of them winking. Harry and the others enter, looking nervous. Hermione holds out a piece of parchment. Hermione uses Lockhart's vanity against him. She tells him she wants to read the restricted book to better understand his brave exploits in gaddying with ghouls. Lockhart doesn't even look at the book title. He signs the note with a giant, flowing flourish, winking at Harry and telling him that fame is a fickle friend. As they walk away with the golden ticket to the restricted section, Harry feels a chill. They have the note, they have the plan, but they are now officially walking into the dark. The girls' bathroom on the second floor. Steam is rising from a small, black cauldron simmering over a magical blue fire. Hermione is stirring a thick, mud-like substance. Harry and Ron are sitting on the damp floor, surrounded by cracked tiles and leaking pipes. Work on the Polyjuice Potion has begun in the one place no one ever visits, Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. In the book, the process is grueling. It takes a full month for the ingredients to stew. The potion is a dark, bubbling gray. Hermione is checking the Most Potenti Potions book, her face illuminated by the eerie blue flames. She explains they still need shredded skin of a boomslang and powdered bicorn horn, which can only be found in Snape's private stores. The risk of being caught here is constant. The sound of Myrtle's wailing echoes off the stone walls, providing a haunting soundtrack to their illegal brewing. In the Quidditch pitch. The match between Gryffindor and Slytherin. A heavy, gray sky hangs over the stadium. The Gryffindor team is in the air. Suddenly, one of the heavy, Iron Bludgers takes a sharp turn, ignoring all other players and diving straight for Harry's head. This isn't a normal game. In the book, the rogue bludger is terrifying. No matter how Harry maneuvers, the heavy iron ball tracks him like a heat-seeking missile. Fred and George try to protect him, but it's impossible to play the game while being hunted. Harry's focused face as he spots the snitch near Draco Malfoy's ear. He decides to go for it, even with the bludger screaming toward him. The camera follows the bludger as it slams into Harry's arm. We hear a sickening crack. Despite the pain, Harry dives. He catches the snitch with his good hand, falling to the mud as the bludger attempts to finish him off on the ground. Hermione finally blasts the ball into pieces with her wand. Harry lies in the mud, clutching his dangling, broken arm. Lockhart strides onto the pitch, his teeth flashing in a confident, theatrical smile. He ignores Harry's pleas to go to Madame Pomfrey. Lockhart's vanity becomes dangerous. He insists on fixing Harry's arm himself, despite having no medical training. Lockhart performs the Brachia Memento spell. A flash of light hits Harry's arm. Instead of healing, the arm goes limp like a rubber glove. Harry lifts it, and we see it flop over. Lockhart hasn't mended the bones, he has removed them entirely. Harry is rushed to the hospital wing, where Madame Pomfrey is furious. Regrowing 33 bones is a painful, overnight process involving a bottle of Skeelgrow. The hospital wing at night. Moonlit shadows stretch across the empty beds. Harry is awake, his arm burning as the bones slowly reform. Suddenly, a small, familiar figure appears at the foot of his bed. Dobby is back. In the book, the conversation is more desperate. Dobby admits he was the one who blocked the barrier at King's Cross and he was the one who cursed the bludger. He thought if Harry was injured, he would be sent home safely. Dobby's large eyes are full of tears as he explains that the chamber was opened once before, and people died. He accidentally lets slip that the monster is something even he who must not be named feared. Before Harry can get more information, Dobby hears someone coming and vanishes with a loud crack. Dumbledore and Professor McGonagall enter the ward, carrying a heavy, motionless figure between them. They place it on a bed near Harry. It's Colin Creevey, his camera still gripped in his hands. The horror strikes again. Colin has been petrified. Dumbledore pries the camera from Colin's stiff fingers and opens the back. As Dumbledore opens the camera, a hiss of steam rises and the smell of burnt plastic fills the air. The film has been melted. Colin didn't see the monster with his eyes, he saw it through the lens, which saved his life but destroyed the evidence. Dumbledore looks at McGonagall, his voice a low whisper, the question is not who, but how. The school in a state of panic. The chamber isn't just a legend anymore, it's a hunting ground. Dungeon classroom, bubbling cauldrons fill the room with thick, colored smoke. Harry and Ron are working at a desk, while Hermione watches a specific jar of swell solutions nearby. Harry is holding a filibuster firework under the table, his face tight with nerves. To finish the polyjuice potion, the trio needs ingredients from Snape's private office. In the book, the heist is a moment of high tension. Harry creates a diversion by throwing a Bulbadox powder firework into Goyle's cauldron. The explosion is chaotic, Goyle's potion sprays everywhere, causing everyone it touches to swell up like giant balloons. While Snape is frantically administering the deflating draft, Hermione slips into his office and steals the bicorn horn and Boomslang's skin. Snape, ever suspicious, finds the remains of the firework and stares directly at Harry, his eyes cold and knowing. The trio has the ingredients, but they've just made a powerful enemy even more alert. At night in the Great Hall. The long house tables have vanished, replaced by a high, golden stage lit by thousands of candles. Gilderoy Lockhart stands in the center in robes of deep plum, winking at the crowd. Opposite him stands Snape, looking like a giant bat in his black robes. Lockhart, sensing the school's fear, decides to start a dueling club to train the students. In the book, the contrast between the two teachers is hilarious. Lockhart is all theatrical flourishes and toothy smiles, while Snape is a silent, lethal shadow. Lockhart suggests a friendly bout, but Snape doesn't play along. With a sharp Expelliarmus, Snape blasts Lockhart off his feet, sending him crashing into the wall. Lockhart, humiliated but pretending it was a planned lesson, decides it's time for the students to practice. Harry and Draco Malfoy face off on the golden stage. Snape whispers a spell to Draco. With a flick of his wand, Draco shouts, "Serpensortia." A long, black cobra erupts from the end of his wand and hits the floor with a heavy thud, hissing furiously. This is the moment everything changes for Harry. Lockhart tries to get rid of the snake, but he only succeeds in blasting it into the air, making it more aggressive. The snake slithers toward Justin Finch-Fletchley, ready to strike. Harry doesn't think, he just speaks. But he doesn't hear English, he hears a low, sibilant hissing. To his eyes, he's telling the snake to leave Justin alone. To everyone else, he sounds like he's egging the snake on. Snape vanishes the snake with a wave of his wand, but the damage is done. Justin flees in terror, and the Great Hall goes deathly silent. Harry is a Parselmouth, a wizard who can talk to snakes, a trait famously linked to Salazar Slytherin himself. The Gryffindor Common Room. Harry is sitting by the fire, but there is a wide circle of empty space around him. Ron and Hermione are explaining why everyone is terrified. The firelight casts long, flickering shadows on the stone walls. Ron explains that Parseltongue is a dark gift. The school now believes Harry is the heir of Slytherin. Harry wanders the library, trying to find Justin to explain, but he hears groups of Hufflepuffs whispering about how Potter is the one attacking people. He feels the walls of the castle closing in on him, realizing that his fame has turned into infamy in a single night. A dark, cold corridor. Harry stumbles upon another flood of water. On the floor lies Justin Finch-Fletchley, stiff as a board and staring at the ceiling with a look of pure horror. Hovering just above him is nearly headless Nick, no longer pearly white but smoky and black, frozen in midair. The horror reaches a new peak. For the first time, a ghost has been attacked. Harry is caught at the scene of the crime by Peeves the poltergeist, who begins to scream at the top of his lungs, "Attack! Attack! Another attack!" No mortal or ghost is safe. Professor McGonagall arrives, her face ashen. She doesn't listen to Harry's excuses. She leads him directly to the one place he's never been, the headmaster's office. Dumbledore's office. It's a vast, circular room filled with silver instruments that whir and puff smoke. On a high golden perch near the door sits a decrepit-looking bird that resembles a half-plucked turkey. In the center of the room, the Sorting Hat sits on a pedestal. Harry is left alone in the headmaster's office, feeling like a criminal. In the book, his curiosity gets the better of him. He tries on the Sorting Hat, which whispers that he would still have done well in Slytherin, deepening Harry's identity crisis. Harry also witnesses a burning day. The sickly bird, Fawkes the Phoenix, suddenly bursts into flames, leaving only a pile of ash on the floor. Dumbledore enters and explains the nature of phoenixes, how they rise from the ashes and can carry immensely heavy loads. Dumbledore asks Harry if there is anything he wants to tell him. Harry, terrified of being expelled for the potion or the voices, stays silent. This is a tragic moment of missed connection. Had Harry spoken, the mystery might have ended months earlier. The Great Hall, decorated with 12 towering Christmas trees covered in frost. Most students have gone home, leaving the castle quiet. In the kitchen corridor, Hermione is holding 2 chocolate cakes laced with sleeping draught. The plan is in motion. To get the bits of crab and goyle needed for the potion, Ron and Harry lure them into a trap. In the book, the sequence is perfectly timed. They leave the cakes on a banister, the 2 greedy Slytherins eat them and instantly fall into a magical slumber. Harry and Ron pluck coarse hairs from the sleeping boys' heads and hide them in a broom cupboard. They sprint to the second-floor bathroom, where Hermione has the potion ready. It has turned into a thick, bubbling, dark gray sludge. The 3 friends stand over 3 chipped glasses. They drop the ingredients in. Hermione's turns a lovely yellow, Goyle's turns the color of a booger, Crab's looks like dark, murky brown. The transformation is described as an agonizing process in the book, not a quick change like in the movies. Harry feels his skin bubbling like hot wax. He shrinks, his vision blurs, and his feet swell painfully inside his shoes. Harry looks in the cracked mirror and sees Goyle's dull, heavy face staring back. Ron has transformed into a thick-set crab. But Hermione stays inside her stall, refusing to come out. She tells them to go on without her, her voice sounding strangely high-pitched. The Slytherin Common Room. It's a long, low underground room with rough stone walls and ceiling. Green lamps hang on chains, and a fire crackles under an elaborately carved mantelpiece. The windows look out into the depths of the Black Lake, where giant squids drift by. Harry and Ron, as Crabbe and Goyle, follow Malfoy into the heart of Slytherin territory. This is a brilliant reconnaissance mission. Malfoy is in a boasting mood, showing them a newspaper clipping about Mr. Weasley being fined. Malfoy reveals that he is not the heir of Slytherin. He admits his father won't tell him who opened the chamber last time, only that it happened 50 years ago and a mudblood died. He also mentions that Lucius has a secret chamber under their drawing room floor filled with dark artifacts. Just as Harry and Ron are about to press for more, they feel their faces starting to itch. The potion is wearing off. Harry and Ron burst back into Moaning Myrtle's bathroom, their own clothes now tight and bursting as they return to their normal sizes. They bang on Hermione's stall door. The chapter ends with a shocking visual. Hermione finally opens the door. She isn't herself. It turns out the hair she took from Millicent Bulstrode's robes during the dueling club wasn't a human hair, it was a cat hair. Hermione's face is covered in sleek black fur. Her eyes have turned yellow, and long, pointed ears poke through her hair. Because the polyjuice potion isn't meant for animal transformations, the change won't wear off on its own. She has to be rushed to the hospital wing in secret. The trio has their answer: Malfoy isn't the heir. The hospital wing. Sunset casts long, golden bars of light across the pristine white sheets of Hermione's bed. She is sitting up, her face completely free of fur, but she is frantically hiding a get-well card under her pillow as Harry and Ron approach. February has arrived, and Hermione is finally recovering from her feline mishap. In the book, this scene has a brilliant beat of character comedy that highlights the underlying subplots of the year. Ron snatches the card Hermione is hiding, revealing it's a gushing, gold-inked poem from Gilderoy Lockhart. Lockhart has signed it with his signature giant flourish. Ron groans in disgust, but the mood instantly turns somber as Hermione asks if there have been any new attacks. The silence that follows is their answer. The school is on a knife edge, waiting for the other shoe to drop. The second-floor corridor. Water is gushing out from under the door of Moaning Myrtle's bathroom, turning the stone floor into a shallow, dark lake. Harry and Ron slosh through the water, following a dramatic wailing sound. Someone has tried to flush Moaning Myrtle. In a fit of ghostly rage, she has flooded the entire floor. But as Harry looks down into the murky water, he spots something that doesn't belong. A small, thin, black leather-bound book. Harry picks it up. The pages are soaking wet but completely unsmudged. On the peeling cover, a faded date reads, 1943. On the first page, written in flaking purple ink, is a single name, Tom Marvolo Riddle. Ron immediately recognizes the danger. Growing up in a wizarding household, he warns Harry that some of the darkest books can curse you just for reading them. His father always said, never trust anything that can think for itself if you can't see where it keeps its brain. But despite the warning, Harry feels an inexplicable, magnetic pull to the blank pages. The Great Hall on February 14th, Lockhart has completely redecorated it in a sickening display of hot pink. Golden confetti is falling from the ceiling, and 12 surly, scowling dwarfs wearing tattered cupid wings and carrying golden harps are marching between the tables. This is a legendary piece of book-only comedy that provides a massive clue to the overarching plot. Lockhart has hired cupids to deliver singing valentines. Later that day, in a crowded corridor, a particularly aggressive dwarf tackles Harry to the ground to deliver a singing message. Harry is pinned to the stone floor, his bag ripping open. Books, quills, and ink bottles spill everywhere. Draco Malfoy snatches up Riddle's diary from the mess, mocking Harry's secret journal. Ginny Weasley stands nearby, her face turning an ash gray as she stares at the black book in Malfoy's hand. Harry scrambles, uses a knockback jinx to reclaim it, and storms off. The red ink from Harry's broken bottle has coated everything, except the diary. The book completely repels the ink, leaving its blank pages pure and white. The Gryffindor boys' dormitory at midnight. The room is pitched in shadow, lit only by a single candle on Harry's bedside table. Harry sits cross-legged on his four-poster bed, holding a quill over the blank diary. Harry decides to test the book. He dips his quill in ink and lets a single drop fall onto the page. In the book, the visual description of this magic is hauntingly beautiful. The ink glows brightly on the paper for a second, and then sinks directly into the page, disappearing as if the paper had swallowed it. Harry writes, "My name is Harry Potter." The words vanish. Then, out of the blank white paper, a different handwriting begins to form, rising from the depths of the page in pale ink. "Hello, Harry Potter. My name is Tom Riddle. How did you come by my diary?" Harry pours his heart out to the ink. He tells Riddle about the attacks in the Chamber of Secrets. Riddle responds with a shocking revelation. 50 years ago, when he was in his 5th year, the chamber was opened, a girl was killed, and the monster was caught. Riddle offers to show Harry his memory of the event. He dives Harry into the pages of the book. The world instantly loses color, turning into a grainy, flickering black and white flashback. Harry is standing in Dumbledore's office, 50 years in the past. An ancient headmaster, Armando Dippet, sits at the desk. Harry is a silent phantom inside Tom Riddle's memory. He watches a young, handsome, 16-year-old Tom Riddle, wearing a Slytherin prefect badge, pleading with Headmaster Dippet not to close the school due to the attacks. Riddle explains that if the school closes, he will have to return to a miserable Muggle orphanage. The scene shifts to the dark, torchlit dungeons of 1943. Riddle is waiting in ambush. A massive, shadowy figure emerges from a door, holding a large wooden crate. It's a young, teenage Rubeus Hagrid. Riddle corners him, shouting that the monster inside the crate is the one attacking students. Riddle blasts the crate open with his wand. A giant, hairy, multi-legged silhouette, a massive spider, bursts out, clicking its pincers, and escapes into the shadows. Hagrid screams in despair as Riddle accuses him. The memory snaps shut. Harry is yanked back into his bed, gasping for air, the candle flickering out. He has his answer. The heir of Slytherin 50 years ago was Hagrid. We wanted answers, but the diary gave us a nightmare. The Gryffindor boys' dormitory. It's early spring, and weak sunlight filters through the windows. Harry is standing by his 4-poster bed, staring in absolute shock at his trunk. The lock has been forced open, his clothes are thrown all over the floor, and his robes are shredded. Ron stands in the doorway, his jaw dropped. The safety of Gryffindor Tower had been breached. In the book, the realization hits Harry like a physical blow: someone inside their own house is a thief. They didn't steal his sneakoscope or his gold. They only took one thing: Tom Riddle's diary. Harry tells Ron and Hermione the terrifying truth. Only a Gryffindor could have known his password and where he kept the book. This means the heir of Slytherin, or someone working directly for them, is sleeping in the very same tower. Hermione is horrified, urging them to report it, but Harry refuses. How can he explain the diary without admitting he's a Parselmouth who has been hearing a voice craven for blood? The paranoia begins to rot the trio's confidence from the inside out. The atmosphere is thick with dread. Students are walking in tight, silent groups, flanked by teachers. Harry is walking to the Quidditch pitch, the sky overhead a miserable, uniform gray. Suddenly, he stops dead in his tracks. The voice returns, but this time it isn't muffled by walls or pipes. It is a breathless, ecstatic scrape against his mind. "Kill this time, let me rip, tear." Harry freezes on the stone stairs. Hermione, standing right next to him, suddenly gasps. Her eyes widen as a look of sheer, brilliant realization washes over her face. She doesn't look scared, she looks like she just solved the greatest puzzle in the world. She slaps her forehead, shouts, "The library," and sprints away, leaving Harry and Ron bewildered. This is a classic, book-only moment where Hermione's intellect outpaces the danger. She figures out exactly what the monster is, but she runs straight into its path to confirm her theory. The hospital wing. The bright, sterile white of the room feels incredibly cold. Professor McGonagall stands by a bed, her face pale and lined with deep grief. On the bed lies Hermione Granger. She is completely rigid, her arm frozen in midair, her eyes wide, glassy, and completely unseeing. The match is cancelled. McGonagall's voice echoes through the stadium, ordering all students back to their houses. But she takes Harry and Ron aside to show them the grim reality. Hermione has been petrified. Next to her lies Penelope Clearwater, a Ravenclaw prefect. Hermione's hands are frozen. Her fingers are tightly clenched around a small, crumpled piece of paper, but the teachers haven't noticed it. Harry and Ron are shattered. Hermione was the brain of their operation. Without her, they are completely blind in the dark. The school implements a strict curfew. No magic in the corridors, no leaving the common rooms after dark, and teachers must escort students to every class. Hogwarts is no longer a school, it's a prison. Heavy fog rolls off the Forbidden Forest, swallowing the pumpkin patch. Harry and Ron, hidden completely beneath the invisibility cloak, creep up to the wooden door. Inside, Fong the boarhound is whimpering low. Desperate for answers about the events of 50 years ago, Harry and Ron risk everything to question Hagrid. But the atmosphere inside the hut is frantic. Hagrid is sitting by the fire, a loaded crossbow resting on his knees, jumping at every sound. Hagrid pours them tea, but his hands are shaking so violently that he splashes boiling water all over the table. Before they can ask him about the monster he supposedly unleashed in 1943, there is a heavy, rhythmic knock on the door. The boys scramble under the cloak as Hagrid opens it. 3 powerful figures step into the hut. First is Cornelius Fudge, the Minister for Magic, wearing a pinstriped cloak and holding a lime green bowler hat. Behind him steps Lucius Malfoy, his pale face twisted into a smug, victorious sneer. Finally, Dumbledore enters, his presence massive and grave. This is a devastating political raid. Fudge has come to arrest Hagrid. Not because they have proof, but because the Ministry needs to be seen doing something to satisfy a panicked public. Hagrid's past record from 50 years ago makes him the perfect scapegoat. Lucius Malfoy steps forward, presenting an official document. The Board of Governors has suspended Dumbledore. Malfoy has blackmailed the other governors to remove the only wizard Voldemort ever feared from the castle. Dumbledore looks directly toward the corner where Harry and Ron are hiding under the cloak, delivering a line that guides the rest of the series. You will find that I will only truly have left this school when none here are loyal to me, and help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it. Hagrid is led away to Azkaban. He shouts out one final, cryptic clue into the empty room for the hidden boys. If anyone wanted to find out some stuff, all they'd have to do is follow the spiders. That'd lead right. The door slams shut, leaving Harry and Ron alone in the dark, with no headmaster, no Hermione, and a trail of spiders crawling out into the Black Forest. The Gryffindor common room. It's a rainy evening, and the fire has died down to gray embers. Harry and Ron sit isolated in a corner. The room is quiet, but the atmosphere is claustrophobic. Every student is watching everyone else with suspicion. Curfew is absolute. The castle feels less like a school and more like a fortress under siege. With Dumbledore gone, panic rots Hogwarts from within. In the book, the fear is tangible. Ernie Macmillan publicly apologizes to Harry, realizing that Harry would never attack Hermione. But this relief is hollow. Without Hermione's brilliant mind, Harry and Ron are completely lost. Harry tracks a lone, frantic spider crawling across the window pane. It is desperate to get outside, heading toward the black canopy of the Forbidden Forest. Ron looks at it, his face turning an ash gray, remembering Hagrid's final words, "Follow the spiders." They realize they have no choice. They must wait for the castle to sleep, pull out the invisibility cloak, and step straight into the domain of their worst nightmares. The edge of the Forbidden Forest at midnight. The moon is a thin, pale crescent, casting jagged shadows through the ancient, gnarled roots. Harry and Ron, accompanied by a whimpering Fong, point their glowing wands, lumos, at the forest floor. The beam of light cuts through the dense fog, illuminating a thick, uniform line of spiders marching over the damp leaves. Entering the forest in the book is a slow, agonizing descent into pitch darkness. Ron's arachnophobia isn't played just for laughs here, it's a paralyzing, suffocating terror. He is trembling so violently that his wand light shakes against the trees. They walk for what feels like hours, pushing deeper into areas of the forest where the canopy completely chokes out the moonlight. The trail of spiders leaves the path entirely, heading into a steep, rocky hollow where the trees grow impossibly dense and twisted. Suddenly, the spiders vanish. The forest goes dead silent. Not a breeze, not a cricket, just the heavy, panicked breathing of the two boys. A sudden, violent crashing sound explodes through the undergrowth behind them. Massive branches snap. Huge, blindingly bright lights suddenly burst through the trees, cutting through the blackness like twin suns. Fong lets out a terrified howl and bolts. For a horrific second, the boys think the monster of the chamber has hunted them down in the forest. But as the mechanical roaring grows louder, a massive, rusted turquoise frame crashes into the clearing. It's the Ford Anglia. The car has gone completely wild. It is covered in thick mud, scratches, and clinging vines. Its headlights are burning bright, and its doors swing open and shut like wings. It has adapted to the forest, living like a feral magical beast. For a brief moment, Harry and Ron feel a surge of relief, until a sudden, clicking noise echoes from the shadows above them. Long, hairy, black legs, the size of tree trunks, silently lower from the canopy. Before Harry or Ron can draw their wands, massive, chitinous pincers grab them by the waist, lifting them into the air. A massive, sunken crater cleared of trees, carpeted in a thick, choking fog and millions of swarming spiders. They are dragged into the heart of the colony. In the center of the misty webbed hollow sits Aragog. In the book, the description is magnificent and terrifying, an acromantula the size of a small elephant, its coat pitch black and streaked with gray. His 8 eyes are milky white and completely blind, and his massive pincers click rhythmically, creating a horrific, hollow soundtrack. Aragog's clicking mouth as Harry bravely shouts that they are friends of Hagrid. The clicking stops. Aragog commands his children not to harm them, yet. He reveals the ancient truth: Hagrid did not open the chamber. Aragog was brought to the school in a pocket by Hagrid from a distant land, and when the girl died in the bathroom, Aragog was framed by Tom Riddle. Harry asks the ultimate question: what is the monster inside the chamber? Aragog's massive body shudders. He clicks his pincers furiously, refusing to say its name. It is an ancient creature that spiders fear above all others. Realizing they have the truth, Harry tries to politely exit. But Aragog drops the ultimate horror twist: my sons and daughters do not harm Hagrid, on my command. But I cannot deny them fresh meat when it walks so willingly into our midst. The blind king retreats into his web, and thousands of giant spiders begin to close the circle. Thousands of clicking spiders swarm over the rocks, their multifaceted eyes glinting in the dark. Harry and Ron back up against a wall of solid webs, their wands raised in desperation. Suddenly, a deafening horn blares. The Ford Anglia roars into the hollow, smashing through the spider ranks, its doors flying wide open. The rescue is pure adrenaline. The boys dive into the car as spiders slam against the glass, their hairy legs scraping at the windows. The car throws itself into reverse, scaling the steep walls of the hollow, crushing monsters beneath its tires. The car barrels out of the forest, slamming to a halt right at the edge of Hagrid's pumpkin patch. It violently ejects Harry, Ron, and Fong into the dirt, gives a final, exhausted sputter of its exhaust, and drives back into the dark woods forever. Ron sits in the mud, throwing up from sheer terror. But as Harry pulls him up, the horror of what they learned sets in. Hagrid is innocent. The hospital wing. The afternoon sun casts long, eerie shadows across the room. Harry and Ron stand beside Hermione's bed. Harry's eyes drop to her right hand, which remains tightly clenched in midair. He notices a tiny edge of white paper peeking out between her stiff fingers. With the school days away from being shut down forever, Harry and Ron find the missing link. In the book, the discovery of Hermione's note is a brilliant realization of her intellect. Harry carefully works the crumpled scrap of paper free. It is a torn page from an old library book describing the basilic, a giant serpent that can live for hundreds of years, possesses venomous fangs, and kills with a single glance from its glowing yellow eyes. At the bottom of the page, written in Hermione's sharp handwriting, is a single word: pipes. The puzzle clicks together perfectly. Harry explains it to Ron: the monster is a giant snake. That's why he's the only one who could hear it, because it speaks Parseltongue. The victims weren't killed because they saw it through secondary reflections. Colin saw it through his camera lens, Justin saw it through nearly headless Nick's translucent form, and Mrs. Norris saw it in the reflection of the flooded floor. Harry and Ron are hiding inside a large wardrobe filled with old teacher robes. Through the slats in the wood, they watch as the entire faculty bursts into the room, their faces etched with absolute panic. Professor McGonagall's hands are shaking. The stakes break the ceiling. McGonagall announces to the teachers that the monster has taken a student directly into the chamber. The words written in blood beneath the first message read, "Her skeleton will lie in the chamber forever." The missing student is Ginny Weasley. Ron, hiding in the wardrobe, goes completely white, his breath hitching. Suddenly, Gilderoy Lockhart bounds into the room, entirely oblivious, humming a cheerful tune. The other teachers turn on him like wolves. Snape, with a deadly sneer, corners Lockhart, reminding him of his constant boasts that he knew exactly where the chamber was and how to handle it. McGonagall tells Lockhart that his moment has arrived, he will face the monster alone tonight. Humiliated and terrified, Lockhart pale-facedly flees to his office. In the Lockhart's office, the room is completely stripped of its vanity. Trunks are packed, and the moving portraits of Lockhart are frantic, scrambling out of their frames to hide. Lockhart is throwing golden robes into a suitcase. Harry and Ron burst through the door, wands drawn. Harry and Ron go to Lockhart to offer their help, only to discover the disgusting truth. Gilderoy Lockhart is a total fraud. In the book, the confrontation is raw. Lockhart admits he never did any of the heroic deeds in his books. Lockhart holds his wand. He explains his process. He found resourceful, brave wizards across the globe, interviewed them about their grand exploits, and then cast powerful memory charms, Obliviate, on them, stealing their life stories for his books. Lockhart raises his wand to wipe Harry and Ron's memories to protect his secret. But Harry is faster. With a roaring Expelliarmus, Lockhart's wand is blasted from his hand, clattering across the floor. They force the weeping coward at one point out of the office and toward the second-floor bathroom. In the moaning Myrtle's bathroom, the air is damp and silent. Myrtle sits on a sink cistern, kicking her ghostly legs. Harry stands in front of a specific copper tap that has a tiny, intricate snake carved into the side. They question Myrtle about how she died 50 years ago. She points to the sink, recalling a pair of giant yellow eyes glowing near the tap before her body went completely cold. Harry steps forward. He looks at the carved snake and forces himself to speak in the sibilant, clicking tongue of the serpent. The sink suddenly comes alive. The copper tap glows with a brilliant green light, and the entire sink unit sinks slowly into the stone floor, revealing a massive, dark, iron pipe wide enough for a man to slide down. The stench of wet earth and decay billows out of the abyss. Harry pushes Lockhart down first, then drops into the void himself, followed by Ron. They slide through a labyrinth of twisting, slimy pipes, descending miles beneath the foundations of the castle, finally splashing down into a wet, bone-strewn cavern. A massive, dark underground tunnel made of solid stone. The floor is littered with the skulls of small animals. Ahead of them lies a colossal, hollow, vivid green object, the shed skin of a 60-foot snake. Lockhart suddenly fakes a feint, collapses, and tackles Ron to the ground, snatching Ron's broken wand. The coward makes his final move. Standing over the boys with Ron's spell-taped wand, Lockhart laughs maniacally, preparing to cast an Obliviate charm that will wipe their minds forever so he can return to the surface as a tragic hero who tried to save the girl. Lockhart screams, "Obliviate!" A blinding, unstable burst of green and violet magic explodes from the cracked wand. The spell backfires with the force of a bomb, striking Lockhart in the chest and rocketing him into the stone ceiling. The vibration triggers a catastrophic cave-in. Tons of massive boulders crash from the ceiling, dividing the tunnel. When the dust clears, Harry is left completely alone on the side of the monster. Ron is trapped behind a wall of solid rock, frantically trying to dig his way through. Harry looks down the dark, twisting path ahead. With nothing but his wand and his courage, he steps forward into the blackness to find the chamber, completely unaware of the ancient horror waiting for him at the end of the line. A colossal, dimly lit chamber. Massive stone pillars carved with intertwined serpents rise into the darkness, casting long, twisted shadows across a flooded stone floor. At the far end stands a towering statue of Salazar Slytherin, an ancient, monkey-like face with a long, thin beard that reaches the floor. Lying face down at the statue's stone feet is a small figure in robes of scarlet and gold, Ginny Weasley. Harry steps into the true heart of Slytherin's dark legacy. The silence here is heavy, broken only by the dripping of water. He sprints across the flooded floor, dropping his wand to pull Ginny into his arms. Her skin is ice cold, her breathing faint. A shadow detaches itself from a pillar. A tall, black-haired boy, looking strangely blurred at the edges, steps into the dim light. He wears a Slytherin prefect badge that glints in the dark. It is Tom Riddle, exactly as Harry saw him in the memory, yet he is more physical, more solid than a mere ghost. Harry begs Riddle to help him lift Ginny, but Riddle moves calmly, picking up Harry's discarded wand instead. He flashes a cold, cruel smile. He has no intention of helping. Ginny isn't just sick, she is being drained. The diary has been feeding on her deepest fears and secrets for months, and as her life fades, Tom Riddle is becoming flesh and blood. Riddle paces lazily around Harry, twirling Harry's wand between his fingers. The air in the chamber feels increasingly suffocating. Riddle uses the wand to trace 3 glowing, fiery words in the damp air, Tom Marvolo Riddle. This is the psychological peak of the chapter. Riddle explains how he manipulated Ginny into opening the chamber, painting the words in blood, and setting the monster on the mud-bloods. But Harry demands to know why Riddle cared so much about him. Riddle reveals that Ginny told the diary everything about the boy who survived the killing curse. With a dramatic slash of Harry's wand, Riddle waves his hand. The letters of his name rearrange themselves in mid-air, shifting and transforming into a chilling new declaration, I am Lord Voldemort. The realization hits Harry like a physical blow. The teenage boy standing before him isn't just a Slytherin prefect from 1943, he is the memory of the Dark Lord preserved in ink. Riddle boasts that Voldemort is the past, present, and future of the wizarding world. But Harry, fueled by adrenaline, strikes back with words, shouting that the greatest wizard in the world is Albus Dumbledore, and that Voldemort is nothing but a hiding, broken shadow. At the mention of Dumbledore's name, a strange, beautiful music echoes from the dark ceiling, unearthly, haunting, and fierce. A crimson bird the size of a swan bursts through the shadows, its golden talons clutching a ragged, dusty bundle of cloth. It is Fawkes the Phoenix. Dumbledore has not truly abandoned the school. Fawkes drops the heavy bundle at Harry's feet. Riddle bursts into cruel laughter as Harry unrolls it, revealing the ancient, patched sorting hat. Riddle mocks Dumbledore's weapons, a singing bird and a ragged piece of rubbish. Riddle turns toward the towering stone face of Salazar Slytherin. He raises Harry's wand and speaks in a deep, guttural, sibilant hiss, Speak to me, Slytherin, greatest of the Hogwarts Four. The statue's giant stone mouth begins to grind open. A massive, echoing dark void appears where the mouth was. Something colossal is slithering within the stone throat of the statue, dropping heavily onto the flooded floor below. A 60-foot, vivid green serpent coils out of the statue. Its armored scales scrape against the stone pillars. Its massive, blunt head rises into the air, and its eyes glow with a deadly, sulphurous yellow light. Harry instantly squeezes his eyes shut, throwing himself blindly onto the stone floor. The hunt is visceral. Harry is entirely blind, relying on the sound of the giant beast splashing through the water toward him. Riddle screams at the basilisk to kill the boy. But suddenly, the air is filled with a furious, wet screeching. Fawkes swoops down like a crimson streak of lightning. Fawkes uses his golden beak and talons to puncture the monster's eyes. Dark, bloody venom sprays across the stone. The serpent is blinded, snapping its jaws in agonized fury. It can no longer kill with a glance, but it can still smell, and its venomous fangs are just as lethal. Harry, now able to open his eyes, runs blindly. He trips over the sorting hat. Desperate, he shoves it onto his head, praying for a miracle. A heavy, hard object slams into the crown of his head. He reaches inside the hat and pulls out a gleaming, silver sword, its hilt encrusted with rubies the size of eggs. It is the sword of Gryffindor. The blind serpent strikes. Harry lunges forward with all his weight, driving the silver sword straight up through the roof of the basilisk's mouth, burying it to the hilt. The monster shudders, its massive weight crashing down, but as it dies, a long, curved, black fang snaps off, plunging directly into Harry's forearm. The price of victory is devastating. Harry falls back against the wall, pulling the black fang from his arm. The basilisk venom spreads instantly through his veins, turning his vision gray, his limbs heavy. Riddle stands over him, triumphant, watching the boy who lived finally prepare to die. Fawkes lands gently on Harry's arm. The phoenix begins to weep, thick, pearly tears falling directly into the black, smoking wound. Phoenix tears possess immense healing properties, the burning venom recedes, and Harry's vision clears. Riddle, enraged, raises his wand to finish Harry himself. Harry makes his final, desperate move. He crawls toward the black leather diary lying on the floor. He grips the basilisk fang in his hand and drives the sharp, venomous point directly into the center of the book. A horrific, inhuman scream echoes through the chamber. Ink gushes out of the page like real blood. Riddle's chest fractures into blinding beams of white light. He twists and burns in midair, his physical form dissolving into a cloud of ash before blowing away into the dark corners of the room. Ginny lets out a massive gasp, her brown eyes opening as life returns to her body. Dumbledore's office. The morning light streams through the high windows, illuminating the spinning silver instruments. Harry, Ron, Ginny, and a completely mute Gilderoy Lockhart stand in the center. They are completely covered in filth, slime, and dried basilisk blood. On the desk sits the ruby-encrusted sword of Gryffindor and the charred, ruined remains of Tom Riddle's diary. The descent into the chamber was over, but the reckoning had begun. In the book, the atmosphere in the office shifts from high tension to overwhelming emotional relief. Mr. and Mrs. Weasley are already there, throwing their arms around Ginny as she sobs out her confession about the diary. Dumbledore's blue eyes are twinkling fiercely. He doesn't blame Ginny, instead, he gently explains how Voldemort managed to manipulate her, stating that older and wiser wizards have been hoodwinked by Lord Voldemort before. He awards Harry and Ron 200 points apiece for Gryffindor, securing them the House Cup. Dumbledore then dismisses the Weasleys to the hospital wing and sends Ron to escort Lockhart, who is happily smiling and has no idea who or where he is due to his own backfired memory charm, to Madame Pomfrey. Harry is left alone with the headmaster. Dumbledore sits behind his massive desk, feeding a tiny, newborn fox a cracker. Harry sits opposite him, his head low. The shadow of his identity crisis from the dueling club still hangs over him. This is the thematic heart of the entire book. Harry confesses his deepest fear to Dumbledore: the Sorting Hat was right. He can speak Parseltongue, and Tom Riddle explicitly told him they were incredibly similar. He feels like he belongs in Slytherin. Dumbledore leans forward, picking up the silver sword from his desk. He points to the blade, where the name Godric Gryffindor is elegantly chased beneath the hilt. He delivers the defining line of the franchise: "It is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities." Only a true Gryffindor could have pulled that sword out of the hat. Harry realizes that while he shares traits with Voldemort, he chose to reject Slytherin. The validation is absolute, but the peaceful moment is violently shattered. Suddenly the heavy oak door of the office explodes open. Lucius Malfoy strides into the room, his pale face twisted in fury, his silver-handled cane snapping against the floor. Kicking and scrambling at his heels is a tiny, trembling figure wrapped in a filthy, threadbare pillowcase, Dobby. Lucius Malfoy is beside himself with rage. Dumbledore has been reinstated by the governors, and Malfoy's plot to purge the school has utterly failed. In the book, the dynamic between Lucius and Dobby is brutal. Every time Dobby tries to speak or steps out of line, Lucius violently kicks him or hits him with his cane. Harry watches the abuse, a furious realization dawning on him. He looks at Dobby, then at Lucius, and then at the charred diary on the desk. The puzzle matches. The Malfoys were the ancient wizarding family Dobby warned him about. Lucius was the one who slipped the diary into Ginny's cauldron at Flourish and Blots. Dumbledore calmly targets Lucius, warning him that if any more of Voldemort's old school textbooks find their way into Hogwarts, he will personally ensure the Ministry traces them back to Malfoy Manor. Sneering, Lucius turns on his heel and storms out, barking at Dobby to follow him. The stone corridor outside Dumbledore's office. Lucius Malfoy is walking away at a brisk pace. Harry comes sprinting out of the office, breathless. He has ripped off his right shoe and pulled off his slimy, mud-caked, disgusting sock, stuffing the ruined leather diary deep inside it. Harry acts on pure instinct to pay back Dobby's loyalty. He catches up to Lucius, panting, and forces the slimy sock-wrapped diary into Malfoy's hands, claiming Malfoy forgot something. Lucius Malfoy's face. Disgusted by the wet, smelly sock, he rips the fabric off the book and carelessly tosses the sock over his shoulder into the air. Dobby catches it. The Dobby's massive green eyes opening wide as he stares at the piece of clothing in his hands. Lucius doesn't realize what he's done. A house elf can only be freed if their master presents them with clothes. By throwing the sock aside, Lucius has accidentally given Dobby a garment. Dobby gasps in a high-pitched, ecstatic whisper, "Master has given Dobby a sock. Master has presented Dobby with clothes. Dobby is free." Lucius Malfoy realizes the trick. Livid, he draws his wand from his silver cane, lunging at Harry with a murderous glare. But Dobby steps directly between them, his tiny fist raised, his eyes burning with ancient, liberated power. With a loud crack, a blast of blue light erupts from Dobby's fingers, sending Lucius flying backward down the corridor, tumbling over his robes. The oppressor is defeated. Lucius scrambles to his feet, glares at them both, and flees the castle for good. Dobby throws his arms around Harry's waist, weeping tears of gratitude, promising to never try and save Harry's life again. The final feast in the Great Hall. The room filled with floating candles and roaring laughter. Hermione Granger comes running through the double doors, completely restored from her petrification, throwing her arms around Harry and Ron. Hagrid bursts into the hall at midnight, back from Azkaban, his giant hands clapping Harry on the shoulders. The chapter, and the season, ends on the Hogwarts Express heading back to London. Harry, Ron, and Hermione are sitting together in a sunlit compartment. Harry reflects on the dark year behind him. He handles his trunk, knowing that while the Chamber of Secrets is sealed forever, he has found his true home, his true friends, and his true self. Dobby is a free elf, the Malfoys have been humiliated, and the school is safe once more. We have unlocked every secret of the chamber, but the wizarding world is about to get much bigger and far more dangerous. What was your absolute favorite twist of Book 2? Comment your thoughts in the vault below. Smash that subscribe button, hit the like button to celebrate Dobby's freedom, and I will see you all very soon as we unlock the dark, chilling mysteries of Book 3, The Prisoner of Azkaban.